My name is Paddy Egan. I'm from Kenagh, and today we're going to talk here about Mosstown. I'm sitting at the main entrance gate to what was once known as the Big House. It was always called the White Gate, and just behind me is the remains of the Wesleyan Church. Mosstown goes back to 1640, when the Newcomen family came here in 1640, and they were established here for about 150 years. And then the McLaugherys came and leased it from them, and they changed their name from McLaughery to Kingston, Clough-Tree Kingstone. And the Kingstones carried on here then, and the best part of their tenancy here was attached to the old mill, which was built in 1795 and was part of the estate. The estate employed about 40 people here, was very good to the general public and to the village and to the people round about. And that is why, as we go on, we will see the benefits that was from Mosstown towards the people of the parish and maybe surrounding parishes. Even though they were of Protestant background, they never used it. They were a very ecumenical family, as we will see later on. Now, they built the mill in 1795, and that carried on for 117 years. It employed about 40 people, and it catered for all the farmers of South Longford. Now, we're standing here just opposite the mill on a lovely August day. You can hear the mill race tumbling in the background. The mill itself was the biggest man-made structure in County Longford before the cathedral. It had the biggest output after the North City Mill and Company in Dublin. And in the last few years of its life, it was managed by Annabella Kingstone. Annabella Kingstone was the caretaker of the 500-acre estate and the mill and all the trappings that went along with it. And that's the woman we're going to talk about now. She was a wonderful woman. She was Annabella Trednick. She married Alexander Kingstone, and he died early. They had no family. She became the caretaker, and she managed the whole thing. Now, one of the features that we're going to talk about here is that the side that she gave to education. Now, I should mention here also that she took a personal interest in the welfare of a family who were orphaned at the time and were known as the Harvey Orphans. And she looked after them. They lived on a small farm the far side of the village. Now, what we're going to talk about today is her interest in education. We have good reason to believe that would probably be the first vocational school in Ireland. She began a school here in the Big House in Mosstown around 1900, maybe 1901 or 2, but around 1900, she started off a school for the young people of the parish. There was about maybe 60 children involved. They were all mixed denominations. They were from all backgrounds. They would all have been about from 14 to 18. Now, she had 5 classes. For the girls, she had singing, cookery and needlework. And when we talk about needlework, we talk about sewing, knitting and crochet. And then for the boys, she had carpentry and gardening. And then she mixed them together for the music. The class had about 45 children of mixed denominations, mixed backgrounds. A lot of them would have been the tenants of the estate. There were 26 houses in the estate, and the children of the people who worked on the estate would have been attending this school, along with a lot of children from the village and the parish surrounding the whole area. Now, from what we know, the school went on from 4 to 5 years. Unfortunately, we don't know who the teachers were, but from the scripts that we have and from her ledger and all that she wrote down, must have been a very, very efficient school, because she even kept the roll books every day. She marked off every attendance, proper roll books, and she charged £1.25 for every pupil who attended. The children, the boys were supplied with tools, and we'll have a list of the tools. They were supplied with things like tenon saws, chisels, hammers, squares, levels, things like that that would lend themselves to carpentry. And we also have at least one surviving piece from the carpentry school. The music class then was mixed, as we said, we had mixed, and something we found out lately, they gave a concert in the big kitchen for the benefit of the troops overseas. That was around 1904 or 1905. The crochet work and the knitting work was a very sophisticated, very well organised. From what we read, the needlework and all that was very, very well. Like there was different things like knitting socks, knitting cardigans, all that, tam o' shanters, all the rest of it. And then the produce of the garden was sold to local people. She formed a little co-op, and the money that she had got out of that came back in to finance the school. So we have the records of her sales of market garden produce that was produced by the children from who were being educated. Now, we do know that she had a resident gardener who probably acted as a teacher as well. Now, it carried on, from what we know, it carried on to about 1905, maybe longer, but we're looking at the records that she kept, and they were very, very efficient records. Now, Annabella, as we said early on, took a broad interest in the welfare of not alone the state, but the people of the parish. She was a great employer. The mill here behind me had about 40 people working during the winter, and during the summer they worked on the farm. The mill was a great benefit to the parishes, all the South Longford parishes, and was a huge loss the night it was burned. On the 29th of February 1912, the mill was burned with a loss of work for maybe 40 people and a loss of supply and purchase from all the local farmers. Now, Annabelle was not too well on the morning of the burning, but she got out of bed that morning, she got her little pony and trap, and she drove down from the big house up the road here to the mill. She looked at the fire, she went back, she got into bed, and she died a fortnight or 3 weeks after. She never recovered. She died with the mill. And that was the end of an era in Mosstown that was sadly missed by the whole parish, and was, while she was there, was a benefit of the parish, because a lot of work in the village that she done too, like supplying the drinking place for horses passing by, that kind of thing. She was always looking around. Her nephew-in-law took it over from there. It didn't go that well. After the burning, the estate was leased out to local farmers. The big house was last occupied in 1923. And of course, unfortunately, it was gutted in 1962 when the Land Commission took it over. And that, more or less, is the end of the story of one of the great County Longford estates, the Mosstown estate. Sinead. We'll continue the story of education in Kenagh. We've just covered the story of Mosstown, and now I'm standing here outside of the first school that we have on record. It was built in 1856 by a man by the name of Father Philip Maguire. This school was made famous by the fact that the great poet and historian Leo Casey taught in this school around from the late 1860s, 1866, 67, 68, around that time, when he was only about 18 years of age. The school is very well preserved, and we're glad to say it's in very good condition. Well built at the beginning, stone cut building, and it stands in a unique position here because there are 3 schools within 100 yards of where we are now, This school built in 1856. The school just immediately behind me was built in 1898, and the school to my right was built in 1992. All in good condition and all in use. Even this school here is the workshop, or was the workshop, of the late George Casey, who I'm glad to say has kept it in very good repair and is very glad to be the owner of it. Now, there's a plaque here on the wall that was put up in 2002 to commemorate the fact that Leo Casey was here, and also to remember a man who died at just 24 years. Now, Leo also wrote poems about Kenagh, his most famous one being Mara My Girl, where he used the church walk from where we were below at the big house. There was a special walk for the people of the big house to the church in Kenagh, and Leo began to use it, and he met his opposite number, the Protestant school teacher, and he became acquainted with her, but the powers that be at the time didn't approve of it, so they moved on the teacher, the lady teacher, and he carried on and wrote his poem about her, and he called it Mara My Girl. So that's made it famous as well. The church walk is still there, part of the Mosstown estate. We're very proud of the education facilities in Kenagh, because we even have it on record that there was a head school here before this school was built. A man by the name of Kelly had a head school here during the famine, and he went around and he had one of his head schools on the entrance into Mosstown, and he had another gathering in Abidarrick where his family settled and are still there. They were Kelly's, and he was a school teacher, and there's a book belonged to him in existence yet, which we believe goes back to about 1845. So we're very proud of our education here in Kenagh, and I'd like to thank all the people involved here for making this. I'd like to thank Mrs Casey for giving us permission to come in here, and anybody else that might be in, especially in Mosstown as well. We use the scenes in Mosstown as well. Thank the owners of Mosstown.